Hello everyone, my name's Cliff and welcome back to my channel. This is Cliff's Dark Gems. And if you're new here, welcome for the first time. I hope you enjoy the show. Yeah, and tonight I'm going to do my February wrap-up. All the books I've read in the month of February. Not that many, unfortunately. Okay everyone, so February's not been the best month for me, health-wise, mentally health-wise, whatever. And yeah, I'm kind of recovering now, but I don't want to go on and on about it. I've read 6 books, busy on my 7th. In fact, one of the 6 books was a DNF, but that's okay. I forgive myself, and I just hope that in the months to come that I get my mojo back, because yeah, I can do this. And the heat is terrible. At this time, well, December, January, February in this part of the world, it's kind of subtropical, and it's kind of overbearing sometimes. Yeah. Oh, and I do have some exciting news. I discovered a short story related to my book of the month, which was 5 stars. I did read a couple of 5 stars. One was a reread. But yeah, I'm super excited about this, and I'm going to talk about that when I talk about my book of the month. You know, just skip forward or skip back, I don't care. But it's exciting, and I'm looking forward to reading that short story. And also, yeah, I'm going to talk about what I've been reading at the moment. And I know this, I started in February, I haven't finished it yet. And this was Sherlock Holmes, and it's his second novel, called, you see, The Sign of 4. And yeah, and I'm really enjoying it so far, even though it's kind of short. I haven't done a lot of reading just recently, but yeah, it's about Sherlock and Watson, and Sherlock is bored. He needs his mind to be like kind of inspired the whole time, which is why he takes drugs. And this beautiful lady comes, and she's searching for help. She's got this letter, her father went missing, and it's about pearls, treasure, and someone who wants to do her or them harm. I haven't got far enough in the book yet, but I'll definitely be talking about that in my next video when I do a reading kind of wrap up for the, you know, just a reading update for the month. And yeah, this is part of Holmes is Where the Heart Is, which is a readathon. And I know there's a whole host of posts, and yeah, I'll link them all down below. So that is, yeah, Sherlock Holmes, 4 great novels, my second. Okay, I'm going to get to my 1 DNF for the month, and it's kind of a little bit of a tragedy, because I think if I was in the right space of mind, and if I felt better, I might have enjoyed this book, or maybe not. And that is Brom. Lost Gods, right? Now, I love the concept of this husband who goes down into purgatory, travels because he needs to save his wife and his unborn daughter. And just the idea of going down into purgatory and hell and, you know, mythical creatures and all that sounds really interesting. But by the halfway mark, I was just confused, and maybe it was just my brain. Maybe I need to pick it up, kind of shelve it, which I'm doing. It's just so much going on, and it's from like one set piece to another set piece. These huge action sequences, and the book doesn't really know what it is. Is it a horror? Is it a fantasy? Is it a dark fantasy? Is it something else? And I just got really confused, and yeah, I couldn't really follow all the kind of different threads, all kind of different characters, because it's very dense and it's very bloated. And if I'm in a perfect frame of mind to read that kind of stuff, I could enjoy it. But for now, I'm shelving Lost Gods by Brom. Beautiful illustrations, though, really. Okay, now I'm going to rank the books that I have read from least favorite to favorite. And yeah, the first book is The Asylum for Fairy Tale Creatures by Sebastian Gregory. And yeah, this was part of Folklore February. and that's hosted by Cat's Novel Adventures. And I want to talk about what I liked and what I didn't like. First of all, what I liked, it is freaking dark. It is twisted. It is very, very horrifying at times. And yeah, the imagery really jumps out at you. I have to tell you, okay, let me just give you some examples. It's sort of a collection of short stories, but I'll get there. Oh, you got Little Red Riding Hood skipping down through the wood to meet her grandma. And there's a big bad wolf who's consumed her grandma. It's just blood and guts. And yeah. And she escapes, and she tries to tell everyone that she's innocent, that it's a big bad wolf that did it. But no one believes her. And so she's accused of the brutal murder of grandma. And she's kind of shipped off to this insane asylum in this black coach with black horses and chains. And seriously traumatized, right? And I'm going to give you one more. It's Thumbelina, not Thumbelina, where this woman desperately wants to have a child. So she makes this doll. She kills all these children, babies, whatever, chops them to pieces, and makes a doll, stitches it together. And this doll is like kind of possessed by something. It's Thumbelina. And of course the doll is also shipped off to this insane asylum with fairy tale creatures. Now, it is dark. And I could not stop reading it because it is actually in places really, really well written. But now I'm going to tell you what I didn't like about it, because I gave it 2.5, rounded up to 3. I almost DNF'd it at some points. I almost gave it 2 stars, but I'm just thinking that some of the horror imagery is just so exquisite. What I didn't like is this book badly needs an editor. It needs someone to go through this book, because there are so many errors in sentence structure, spelling, words missing, run-on sentence. It's crazy. It's like a first draft. What happened? And in addition to that, and this is not necessarily a total reflection on the book, but you know when people paste in pieces of paper, numbers or whatever into it, right? Okay, let me put my hand here. Right, let's see what comes out. Bah! Let's look here. We got chapter 3. Okay, we're going to start with chapter 3. Right, let's go back in again and let's see. Right. Bah, bah, bah. Okay, chapter 1. Maybe where we should have started the book. Right? That's how this book felt like sometimes. Not all the time, maybe not in the beginning. But I felt like it was like copy and paste all over the place. It was confusing. But in between all the mess is some of the darkest horror imagery you'll come across. And just the concept of a fairy tale retelling where these fairies are traumatized by their experience and they get locked up in an insane asylum for various reasons. Yeah, there's some messed up stories in here. But yeah. So that is, and don't believe the cover, it's dark. The Asylum for Fairy Tale Creatures by Sebastian Gregory. And I just want to add that it's actually kind of sad, because with some proper editing, proofreading, maybe flesh out things, put things in the right way, this could be a freaking phenomenal horror novel. Really, people. There's so much potential in this book. And it's wasted because, I don't know, sloppy editing, or just someone else was supposed to read it, go over it, look for errors. But yeah, that's my 2 cents worth of that. Okay, next up we got The Haunting of Velkwood by Gwendolyn Keist. And yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this suburban gothic kind of haunting tale. Maybe light on the horror, but I really enjoyed the book. And last night I had a live chat with Crits from Secrets Reads. And Jen from Literary Love 123, yeah, she was kind of the guest host, and we had an awesome chat. And I'm going to link that chat down below because you need to look at it. And this book was part of our Fright Club February pick. And as I say, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Yeah, it is about this neighborhood. It's part of this neighborhood that just disappears. And it's about these 3 girls, 3 best friends when they were younger. that experienced stuff. And they escaped this. Now the thing is that people try to get in, no one can get in. It's this magical veil or something over it, no one can get in, and the town just disappears. Not the town, the neighborhood. And these 3 girls are the only ones who used to live there. They can get in. 20 years later, one girl goes, and I'm going to make this just totally short and spoiler free because I want you to watch the video. I'll live chat. And yeah, she goes back in. Yeah, and it's about memory and kind of trauma, and she goes in, and the whole point is others have to go in as well. They have to discover what's wrong with Velkwood, what caused this haunting, what has happened. And I love it because it brings up all sorts of themes like love. There's a love story there, LGBT, a beautiful love story. There's loss. It's light on the horror. It's about trauma. It's about forgiveness, kind of letting go. It's just, yeah, it's a wonderful story. And I can understand why some people didn't enjoy it. So, in our reading group, there were quite a few people that did not gel with it. I don't normally gel with haunted house stories, but I liked this one because it was interesting, it was different. But yeah, that is A Haunting of Velkwood. Okay, next up is probably the most vile, disgusting, sick, twisted, nasty book that I've ever read in my entire life. And that is Exquisite Corpse by Poppy C. Bright. But at the same time, it's also absolutely beautifully written, exquisitely written, and they're just this underlying themes of homophobia, because they're set in the 90s in New Orleans, where AIDS was rampant. And yeah, the book is mainly about men, not women. You know, graphic sex and violence. It is depraved, people. It is not for those with a faint heart. But yeah, the whole setting and the time with the AIDS running rampant, and how people treated these men is a very important kind of underlying theme, and adds to not just the repulsion but kind of the sadness, and yeah, just adds depth to the story. But it's just going to warn you about a few trigger warnings here. Trigger warnings for, yeah, graphic sex, graphic violence, rape, necrophilia, and cannibalism, and yeah, the list goes on. Okay, so this book is very depraved, and yeah, I have to say, I don't normally see a book as kind of sickening, disgusting, as disturbing, but this book is. It kind of perfectly blends the two. So yeah, and I really enjoyed it. It was like 4 stars. So yeah, that's Exquisite Corpse. And it's also, let's just talk about what it is. The focus of the book is on these 2 serial killers, and they kind of pretty damn twisted. And the one escapes from London and travels to America and finds this American serial killer, and they're both freaking insane. And they meet up, boy meets boy, and they find that they have something in common, something special that connects them, and something that no one else in the world has. Yeah, it's kind of a twisted love story, and they have their eyes set on this kind of Vietnamese American runaway, this boy, and yeah, they want to get their hands on him, and they want to push their depravity to new levels of, yeah, just, it is twisted, and I felt sick at times, but I could not look away. Yeah, just the writing is so beautiful, and even if she's describing viscera and shit and just stuff, you just cannot look away because of the way she writes and what she's talking about. She doesn't hold back, she just puts it up in front of you and says, yeah. So if you've got the stomach, if you're brave enough, this is actually an excellent book. And yeah, Exquisite Corpse by Poppy C. Bright. Okay, next up is my first 5-star book, and that is A Gunslinger by Stephen King. And I'm doing a Dark Tower kind of read through, reread, and I'm having a chat with some folk on my Discord, Crit's Discord as well. And yeah, lovely if you can join in and just come and say hi, that kind of thing. Now I want to talk about two different publications. Okay, that's kind of important. The first publication he wrote as a teenager, and then his preferred one he revised the thing and he added to it, he bulked it up. And it kind of fits in better with the flow of the entire series of 7-8 books. And this is what he has to say in his foreword of the preferred publication. He says, "When I look back at the first volume, which you now hold in your hands, three obvious truths present themselves. The first was that The Gunslinger had been written by a very young man, and had all the problems of a very young man's books. The second was that it contained a great many errors and false starts, particularly in light of the volumes that followed. The third was that The Gunslinger did not even sound like the later books. It was frankly rather difficult to read. All too often I heard myself apologizing for it and telling people that if they persevered, they would find the story really found its voice in the drawing of the three," which it does. That, yeah, I still read the first thing and I actually loved it. But the story does get a lot better in the drawing of the three. What happens in the first book is that you're introduced to this character, Roland. Now, kind of comes across kind of cold, distant, unlikable, but there's a sense of kind of honor and there's a purpose about him, right? Almost like it comes across as a Clint Eastwood, kind of tough, reserved, ready to be a badass at a moment's notice. Now with this character, in this story, you get his backstory, which is very important, because you learn how he came to be who he is at the story. And I think that's my favorite part of the whole story, of this book. But you also kind of learn what a badass he is, this town, I'm not giving spoilers away, and also you are thrown into the setting. A lot of people are uncomfortable with the setting. It kind of feels like a Western, kind of post-apocalyptic thing. They're kind of confused because you're not given any information. You're just thrown into the setting and you've got to kind of work your way out. But you just got to keep reading the book because it's kind of clues and hints and stuff that happens. Anyhow, I want to just read the first paragraph. Okay, the first line actually is probably the most famous line in all of literature, and I'll stand by that. "The man in black fled across the desert and the gunslinger followed." But let me tell you about this setting. The desert was apotheosis of all deserts, probably pronounced it wrong, huge, standing to the sky for what might have been parsecs in all directions. White, blinding, waterless, without feature save for the faint, cloudy haze of the mountains, which sketched themselves on the horizon, and the devil grass which brought sweet dreams, nightmares, death. An occasional tombstone sign pointed the way for once a drifted track that cut its way through the thick crust of alkali had been a highway, and coaches had followed it. The world had moved on since then. The world had emptied. So although we're in this kind of post-apocalyptic, weird kind of Western world without feature, there's a sense that there's other worlds out there besides this. And yeah, I absolutely love the first book. I know some people do as well. And some people, I think they get caught up in the whole Western feel, tone of the book. But I implore you, keep reading. It gets better, people. It gets so much better. And when you get to Thing of the Three, yeah, it's just freaking awesome. Yeah. So that is The Dark Tower. Okay, everyone, so we come to my book of the month. Might be book of the year, unless the series gets better. And that is The Queen of Bedlam, a Matthew Corbett series that I'm reading along with Nikhil from Self-Esteem. Now this book is freaking magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. I really enjoyed Speaks the Nightbird, but this for me was better. What's it about? Okay, it's in 18th century New York, so it's kind of a town on the cusp, becoming a city, becoming great. And yeah, Matthew McCorbett is still a clerk, and he's there. And yeah, he kind of is a serial killer on the loose. Kind of carves faces, carves kind of masks out of faces, slits their throat. And he becomes involved in this murder. But this corpse is sort of the first at the scene of the murder, and he becomes involved as a clerk. And he's curious, he's still curious, just like he was in the first book. But his character arc in his book is just insane, people. It is wonderful. Kind of what he becomes, how he evolves. And I don't want to talk about anything, you just have to read his book. He's just give you a clue. He's like detecting skills, his curiosity, the things that he can see that other people can't see. So yeah, he's just wonderful as a character. And I'm starting to love him so much. I love the series. Might overtake Roland. Probably not, but could be. Yeah, but anyway, this is an insane series. The second book is absolutely wonderful. And there are some chapters, like one after the other, that just a roller coaster ride. Like literally some of the best stuff I've ever written. Because although you can't put this in a genre. It's definitely historical fiction, but there's horror here, people. It is freaking dark. And there's also other stuff, like obviously it's a crime mystery, kind of like a Sherlock Holmes, but on steroids. But there's all sorts of stuff happening in this book, and it's beautiful, and the characters, and the setting. And even though there are a lot of different kind of plot threads that might bore people or confuse people, the way that he writes, it's like I don't care. I get interested in everything that is happening in the city. I'm interested in everything that happens in the city. Even if it seems like it's kind of not following the main storyline. I love this book. I absolutely love this book. So yeah, it could be book of the year. But I have heard that this series gets better. So we'll have to wait and see. And there's a special thing that I mentioned at the beginning of the video. If you go to Robert McCammon's website, there's a short story called Night Ride on Robert McCammon's website, and it's free. And that short story follows what happens here. So if you've read this book in the read-along with Nikhil, I haven't gone onto I don't know what the thing is on the phone, but if you have read this book, yeah, do yourself a favor and go check out that short story. It's free. Robert McCammon website. Okay everyone, so that does it for my February wrap-up. Have you read these books? Let me know what you think down in the spaces below. I'd love to have a conversation with you. And yeah, until next time, take care of yourselves, keep those pages turning, and cheers.